Hello and welcome to the Unwanted Opinion podcast, the show where me and my friends give off our unwanted opinion on all things film. I am Lewis and I'm joined, well, not as always, by my good friend Kyle.
Hello, I've missed 1 week.
You've missed 1 week, to be fair. And actually today, no Gonzalo.
Yeah,
There's one in, one out. No, I'm the only one. I'm the only surviving guy. I've been here every episode, you know.
Actually, I don't know if I've made everyone. I don't know if I made it when I had COVID.
I feel like me and Gonzalo just did an episode ourselves as well before.
Remember we did our own episode when we did the Fantastic Beasts. No, when we talked about Morbius and
yes,
ambulance.
we did. It was just you and I
Special day, yeah.
That's the great thing about having two other people
Yeah,
to
you
do
can
this
just
with,
jump
because
it in and out.
exactly, we can still go ahead if one of you are missing. But Gonzalo, we miss you. I hope you're doing well. I know you've been travelling and whatnot, but
Yeah,
anyway.
he's not unwell. He's on holiday.
He's
on
not.
holiday.
Hopefully, he's not passed away, guys. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I'm making a big
jeez.
deal at this, but anyway, on today's show, me and Kyle will be looking at some of the best films so far this year. We'll have our own selection. We'll also give a shout out to other films that we would like to recommend. And I think this year's been a really great year so far for film. What do you think, Kyle?
Well, I mean, it's weird you say that actually, because obviously we were chatting, and I don't know, was it you made it out? Was it like a few weeks ago or something? You were like, I've actually started to make a list of all the bad films I've seen, and all the ones I saw were with you, and it's been. I mean, a lot of them have been this summer, or this year. Sorry. I mean, the thing is, I think the good films are overshadowing the amount of bad films we've had, because we'll talk about that later. But overall, I really think we've had some really groundbreaking films. Genuinely,
true. Yeah, we have. But yeah, so as usual, how these episodes go, me and Kel will give a few films that we recommend first, then we'll jump right into the news, we'll finish off our best films of the year discussion, and then we'll have a review for Lightyear and Mubi's latest, Pleasure. So that will be today's show.
Are you wanting to give the wee kind of like shout outs first before we dive into our top threes?
Yes, that's a good idea. I will just rattle off a few honourable mentions that I won't really be going in depth about. Right, I'll just be very quick here. Last week I reviewed All My Friends Hate Me. It's this really great British psycho comedy kind of horror film. I thought it was excellent. Happening as well, this French film. God, I can't remember the director's name now. I feel terrible. A really insightful and eye-opening film about like abortion and women's rights and things. I thought it was a really well done film.
Oh, okay.
The Quiet Girl as well. That was a really sweet, tender film that I think over time has actually crept up there for me. I think it's a really, really great film. Red Rocket as well. Forgot. Did I review that? I don't think I reviewed it on the show.
I don't know. You've mentioned it a couple of times, so you may have
Red Rocket.
reviewed it.
A film about like an aging porn star trying to get back in the business was very funny.
You have.
Yeah,
You've definitely reviewed this.
Yeah, quite sad, but also quite funny. Really strange. Has a really unique protagonist and someone you hate and really kind of root for at the same time. Boiling Point, another fantastic one-shot film that highlights the stress and the sort of unnervous anxiousness work in a busy London restaurant, and just. One of the highlights of that film is actually the characterization, and all the characters in that were really fleshed out in this hectic one-shot film. It was fantastic. And also The Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy, sorry. What was his name? Director Hamaguchi. I forgot his first name. The guy who did Drive My Car last year. It was a great selection of 3 short films.
I remember. Yeah,
which were also some really, really profound and beautiful films. Really loved that. And Great Freedom, we'll finish off with Great Freedom, another really insightful film about post-war Germany and what it was like to be a homosexual man in that time period, and also being forced into imprisonment, even though after years of imprisonment within concentration camps and things. It's really heavy, but also really moving stuff. So those were my honourable mentions very quickly.
You know, you're making me seem so uncultured here, because you've given all these films, and I'm going to start with Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
That's the nice balance. That's the nice balance.
Shout out to Chippendales Rescue Rangers, a film that I just did not care about and just thought, I'm going to watch this. And my God, I was so pleasantly surprised. I mean, we were talking to a co-worker of ours earlier in the week. I think you were there when I was talking to him. Yeah. And he was talking about how he's just pleasant as well. And it's just such a pleasant film. It's just a good family laugh, really good fun. Filled to the brim of cameos, but not in your face like other films, to say the least. And just a fun Disney kind of film about two characters I've just never really, don't really
cared
know much
about.
Moving on, I want to talk about RRR.
RRR.
Have you watched it yet?
I have not. I really need to see it. I've heard great things. I've heard great things.
This is the Indian film that's just taken the world by storm, man. Honestly,
I see it on Twitter all the time.
It's exact. That's how I knew about it. It's like really, it's just one of the. It's honestly a fantastic action film, a fantastic bromance film. That's what this film is. It's a bromance. And I was still not given with the fact that the first 10 minutes, it's just this one guy beating up 100 people, and just having a great laugh. I mean, it's a 3-hour epic. Honestly. Yeah. It's got a musical number in it. It's just insane. Honestly, if you get the chance, RRR. It's on Netflix currently. Give that a watch. I've got two more honorable mentions. One of which I actually want to talk about is Bella.
Belle.
The Belle. Oh, sorry. Belle. The anime film.
I forgot about it. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, the more, I mean, when I first saw this with you, Liz,
you were cranky.
I was very cranky. I was very tired. I was like, I didn't enjoy it. The more I think about it, the more I was like, that was a really good film. Basically a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Via this girl who basically becomes an online sensation, singing in a metaverse. Ready Player One style universe, and her falling for this Beast character and their story.
Some may say like Beauty and the Beast.
Some may say like Beauty and the Beast, and it's a very all round beautiful little film. I really quite enjoyed it. I want to watch it again. I do plan to at some point. And the last one I want to talk about. The more and more, I just love this film more and more each day. Phantom of the Open.
Phantom of the Open. That's a really sweet little film.
Great wee film. Honestly, if I had to choose one film to watch again, like every night for a year, honestly,
I'd be Phantom of the Open.
I could sit down and watch Phantom of the Open.
That's the sort of film everyone's parents would like, isn't it?
It is. It is. So Phantom of the Open. I can't remember the man's name, but it's basically about this guy who's kind of like out of work and he goes, I could play in the open. And I've never played golf before, and it's just his kind of story of trying to figure out how to play golf in this world, and it's a real life story as well.
It's a true story, a really interesting true story actually.
And it's I can't remember who's you could remember the main actor in it.
Mark Rylance.
Who just gives off just such a fun. He just had fun with the character, But and also the same point was so. True to the character, because obviously they does the classic thing where it'll show little kind of footage at the end of the real life character, and I was just like, that's not only the best time I've ever seen that was I would have to say King Richard, when I was like, that was the one time I was like, oh, that Will Smith really did actually copy the mannerisms, but he did an excellent job in Phantom of the Open as well. So those are my little
well, great picks actually. I do like all those
honorable mentions. Well,
I guess I'll get right into the start of one of my favorites of the year so far, and that has to be Robert Eggers' The Northman. The Northman's quite interesting, right? Because I was obviously really excited for it. I'm a big old Robert Eggers fan. I love The Lighthouse. I saw that twice in cinemas. I mean, even I watched that again recently, actually, before I saw The Northman. I was just like, oh my god! It's just like every time you watch it, you have a new idea of what's going on in that film. It's just
I've not
so
seen
atmospheric.
It since it first came out. I was like you. I went to. I remember going to see it like in a daytime showing, and I had a lot of people walk out of that cinema. Actually,
oh really?
It's
not like you wouldn't watch it on a sunny day.
But I've been meaning, because I've been trying to convince my dad to watch it. So I've been trying to get. because obviously it's on Sky Cinema. So I've been like, right, we need to watch it at some point. But did he do Vivid or the Witch?
The Witch, the Witch, yes, The Witch. He did do the Witch as well. Another really atmospheric horror.
Yeah, I really love that film.
But I feel like every time he makes a film, it just like in terms of, I don't know. This is close to The Lighthouse for me. I still think The Lighthouse is, well, that's just to me like a masterpiece of a film. But The Northman is very close to that for me. It was also, so basically it's about Hamlet, who if you know Hamlet, guys, if you know Shakespeare, it's very much what they based Hamlet off of. But Hamlet's father is killed and his mother is kidnapped by his uncle, and he then vows revenge, and that's what he basically, his whole being is built up upon this idea of revenge and wanting to save his mother, and that's his whole character, basically. Hamlet is just rage and revenge incarnate. He just wants to slaughter and kill and get, what was his uncle's name again? Fjolnir. Wants to get revenge on Fjolnir. That's his whole character move, and that's his whole thing. But the film actually does take some left and right turns that I wasn't expecting, which I won't spoil here, but it does take some turns and becomes a film that I wasn't actually really expecting. I was kind of, from the marketing, it looked like an action-heavy, blood-soaked, like really testosterone-filled sort of film. But what you get is actually, okay, there is that stuff in there for sure, but you actually get a story that's also about a guy coming to terms with his own failures of judgment and his own delusions. Basically, it's like his own beliefs kind of being wrong or not what he seemed at first, and also there's a little bit of a love story in there, which is actually quite nice and surprising between him and Anya Taylor-Joy's character Olga. But yeah, what it is, it's in terms, even though sadly it was a film that didn't make its money back or really made a profit, for
was
the
it one
budget,
of the most expensive?
Yeah, it was made for
A24 films.
It wasn't A24 actually. It wasn't A24. No, it wasn't. Can't remember, the studio did it. But anyway, yeah, it was like $70 to $90 million, the reported budget. But it looks incredible. Like $200 million. $200 million films don't look this good, and the action is visceral and heavy, and really you can really feel the action and the violence in it. It's really heavy stuff. But it is one beautiful looking film. Even those who have had problems with the film, I know friends of mine didn't actually like it, but it's still a beautiful looking film that cannot be denied. And it's also this sort of really classical and old fashioned in just its design, obviously based on a folklore, and it feels like a classic fable brought to life in the modern day. And I love the aesthetic, I love how it looks, and I really found some of the surprises in it. There is like a twist near the end. I was like, wow, this is making me rethink this whole thing. I really thought this would be a very simple, cut and dry story of revenge. But it isn't. It has its own twists and turns, and it's an excellent film. I love The Northman.
I will see it.
I'm surprised you haven't seen it yet.
Well, see, my issue is I'm now kind of at the stage where I'm like, will it come out on like Sky Cinema or something? Or it's also at that awkward stage where it's like £15 to rent.
Yeah, it is. It's more expensive to rent.
It's not out.
It's not on streaming yet.
It's not on streaming. I was like, I will watch it by the end of this year. Cause it'll definitely be on my yearly wrap up.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
But no, I'm still very keen to see it. Yeah.
What is your first film of the year, Cal?
My first film. Well, I'm gonna go with. I'm probably just gonna. Actually, I was thinking I'm gonna start with The Batman by Matt Reeves. Incredible film. So obviously we've not had a solo Batman film really since
10 years.
Yeah,
2012. Unless you want to count the Lego Batman film, no.
Sorry. Yes, Lego Batman film. I will include that because that was an
5 years ago. Yeah.
Since we've had a live action solo Batman film, and big hype as always. Big. Internet blowout when an actor gets announced to play the Batman. Honestly, you can't have it either way.
There was a lot of build up for this one.
And the marketing for this film, just since the get go, I've just been like, oh, this looks like something different. The main thing that always hooked me in the marketing which was always something that I was always interested in, like when they talked about the filming, like where we were filming, was the Gotham, because I've missed a good Gotham. Right?
That is true. I feel like
You
the
know?
Christopher Nolan films really Gotham wasn't really a character.
After Batman Begins, it became Chicago, basically. You know,
and then New York in The Dark Knight Rises just changed.
It kept changing cities, and then with the Batfleck films, it was just a CGI city.
Nothing good.
But with the use of filming in sorts of Glasgow or Liverpool, getting that really gothic aesthetic, I was just like, this felt like a character to me. Like the Gotham City.
The city was a character in this film, absolutely.
Not that I've felt that since probably the Joker film with Todd Phillips, because they worked on making Gotham a character in it. And I loved that about the film, and I loved the fact that it's just a crime noir.
That's it. It's so simple, really.
Like, do I class it as a superhero film? Yeah, in the same way that I'll say Logan's a western, but it's a western with superheroes in it.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of, it's like it feels like a Batman that obviously it's, we're beating a dead horse when we say this, but it is the detective story. It is the story. It was like, this is where the detective comes to life. Absolutely.
We've not, obviously there's the kind of third act where it gets a bit more
actiony,
punchy. Not as mental as say like the Batman Begins, where it's like poison the city, or the Dark Knight Rises, where it's like blow up a city, or like stranded a city for a year. It's really down to earth for the most of it, and it's just one guy fighting the Riddler, who's portrayed. I mean, every portrayal in this film is incredible. Jim Gordon, insane. Falcone, done by is it John Tucci?
John Turturro.
John Turturro, who I only know from comedy roles.
To
see him to
be comedies,
this mafia boss was really good.
He was a great slimy. I mean, we talked about it. We did a big extensive review on this film, but
he was was
such a slime ball in it. I loved it. Yeah,
I loved it. And then, who plays the Penguin? Remind me.
Colin
Farrell, who will probably that costume department or makeup department will win an Oscar for that.
No doubt they'll get nominated. Absolutely,
it was so good.
I remember my mum came over. She's like, "What was the point of you casting him?" She didn't know until I told her. She's like, "What was the point? What was the point of casting him?"
Come on, you could act.
I was like, just get
what's
a
the
bigger
point of
boy,
acting?
man.
Anybody? What's the point of acting?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, come on. But no, I really enjoyed Patterson's portrayal of this character. I would love to see more Bruce Wayne in the next film.
I think we will, yeah.
Which is why it's still the kind of 9 out of 10 for me, because I was like, I needed to see a wee bit more Brucey boy, and but just the way they've done this film, the music was amazing.
Oh, music was Batman's theme is excellent.
It was a 3-hour film, and I rewatched it
score
very recently, and I was like, again, just start to finish, it just didn't feel like 3 hours for me.
No, I mean, I saw it twice in the cinema, and it just flies by.
Compare it to another 3-hour superhero film like Endgame. Endgame feels 3 hours for me.
It
has
a middle act problem.
It has a middle act problem, but the Batman just boom, boom, boom.
And
I was just not a spoiler point in the way. So I'm gonna avoid. Well, no, it kind of got announced, but just after watching that exclusive extra scene, right, and then watching the film, my God, I'm so happy they decided to take that.
Yeah, me too.
Because it would have just completely. Because I was watching the film and I was kind of like, I think that's where it was meant to slide in, just in the way where he was going, and I was like, oh, it would have destroyed anybody caring about the Riddler.
Yeah,
the Batman, a fantastic solo superhero experience, a fantastic solo Batman experience, a fantastic crime noir. Very excited to see where they take this next, and to see if they can re-hit the magic. I really do think that the next one will hopefully make maybe how much did this get in the cinema?
This made about 770 million.
I really hope if this can push the next one, that the next one could be $1 billion dollar hit.
I feel like just because this one is a much heavier tale, and also it's not exactly a family-friendly film.
Was that the same with like the Dark Knight trilogy? Was Batman Begins $1 billion?
No, just The Dark Knight was.
So
Dark
like
Knight,
maybe,
Dark Knight Rises, yeah.
So so that's what I'm kind of hoping as well, because I think this one deserves
But it just feels like I remember when I saw it like midnight screening the Batman, and coming out of that.
Oh, so you did?
I remember just watching that, I was just like, oh my god, like. It just feels like the amount of like love and care like they put into Batman films compared to other comic films just isn't fair.
Well,
it just felt so grand and like looked amazing.
It's like, you know,
loved it.
If you were to put some love and effort into other good DC superheroes like Superman, you could get a really good film.
And that's the thing, Matt Reeves really cared about the Batman, and they put a lot of trust in Matt Reeves to do it. Yeah.
And you know, but they always did unique ways about it. And the way they did the story so well, because I remember watching it and I genuinely was like, what the fuck is this film? Because I was like, no, because I thought Riddler knew who Bruce Wayne was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you know that thing.
Oh yeah, there's that.
And
my
dad was like, my dad was saying to me, he's like, I could feel my heart racing because he felt uncomfortable because no one ever knows who he is.
Yeah.
You know, like my dad was genuinely going, "This is actually uncomfortable. Somebody knowing who this guy is," and I'm just sitting there going, "You know, that's incredible." But I mean, throughout the film, not even Catwoman knew who he was, which I forgot about until I rewatched it, and I just sat there going, "Oh yeah, she doesn't know."
No one knows.
So it's really showing how Matt Reeves is just a fan of the character.
Yeah,
and kind of
although when we talked about Batman and Gothal mentions this, like he doesn't want a sequel. He just wants the next Batman film to be something completely different.
You know,
I'm invested in this universe now. I'm invested in Robert Pattinson and the rest of the cast, especially actually Jim Gordon, Catwoman. I love their portrayals too. So I'm really invested in this Gotham, this world. So I am actually looking forward to a sequel, even though the sequel baiting stuff I wasn't a fan of. I'm still looking forward to see where they're going.
I know what they're talking of. For see if they were to turn around and say we're not making a sequel, I'd be fine with that because it's a nice closed-end story. Because you could really say that by the end of it, he's almost completed his character development.
He has completed his character development.
Absolutely. Vengeance to a hero, right? And I know what you're saying about the character baiting stuff, but I truly don't think that him will be the villain until the third film.
The third film, yeah. They probably will build up to it.
I think it's going to be a build-up, which I'm more happy about, because I want build-up so that it doesn't feel we're rushed with the character in that third film. I always have a big issue with superhero films and their nemesis that they get used, because if we take Green Goblin, for example, with Spider-Man, just using the first film, and then they keep bringing him back for like foreshadowing, like what was it, like
Spider-Man 2 and stuff.
You know,
yeah.
Well, yeah, and that. But then I didn't love the Green Goblin until I saw him in No Way Home, because then I was like, I felt I had the pot stirring with the character for so long.
For literally decades.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing I would like to see them do with
with Joker slowly building up. Well, you know what? Matt Reeves has proven himself, and I have faith in him to do it.
I do. But so the Batman, that's my first top three so far.
Wonderful.
Of
Good
the
choice.
year.
Good choice. Right. So my second choice is Everything Everywhere All at Once. No doubt.
Yes.
Anyone who's listened to the podcast knows I was gushing over that film when I reviewed it, and I still am. I still love Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think it's one of the most creative, really fun, really
bonkers.
Like all bonkers, all rounded, like fully packed film that is just like filled with hilarity, sadness, just
everything, every emotion,
everything, exactly.
I see you did there.
So basically, Michelle Yeoh's Evelyn, who's obviously this aging Chinese woman whose laundromat is about to be audited, and obviously simultaneously her relationship with her daughter's on the brink, and also with her husband too, Waymond. And so basically her whole life's kind of in disarray, and obviously when she gets to the tax office, Jamie Lee Curtis plays
she's
the tax lady Deirdre, which I really loved Jamie Lee Curtis in it. She was great. And when she gets there, boom, her husband changes to another Waymond and is basically saying, look, you are the chosen one. You're the one who's meant to save the multiverse because it's all going disarray, and that's the setup, and it's pretty goes off the rails pretty much from there in a good way. And that's the thing with Everything Everywhere All at Once, is that you can't really define it by any one thing. And I've said this when I wrote the review and when I talked about it. Its biggest strength to me was the balance, the way it managed to maintain keeping all the craziness that happens, being able to keep it simple enough for you to understand how all this multiverse stuff is happening, and also being complex enough in a way that can jump between these things without, much confusion. And that was the thing. The balance between the emotion and the comedy as well was just fantastic. I loved the way they did that. The Daniels who did it have just the most creative flair ever.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. I said this as well. It's like Multiverse of Madness came out, and we were all kind of underwhelmed with the quote unquote madness of it, because it wasn't really that.
This film was mad.
This film was mad. This is the
Absolutely
one that took the multiverse. Really took the multiverse concept to the next level, and really just the most random shit happens, and it's great, and it's just so fun to see. But at the base of it, amidst all this insanity, is that you have the story of a fractured family and having to also come to terms and accept your life and the choices you've made. And that's really heavy stuff, and there's even stuff like nihilistic stuff about what's the point of everything thrown in there too. And honestly, it is overwhelming at times and can be exhausting, but by God, you get a film out of it. You are like, wow, I've got my money's worth on this for sure. I've had a boatload of ideas and creative stuff I've never seen before, and it's just so good. And on an action level front, oh my God, I almost forgot.
It's such an action-heavy film.
The action is great in it. Obviously, all the martial arts stuff is fantastic. And having Ke Huy Quan back, because he's not acted in 20 years, was great. He's one of my favourite characters of the year in Waymond. He was just so wholesome and sweet. And Michelle Yeoh, I'll still stand by it. She's still one of the best performances I've seen this year as Evelyn. I loved it. That's me raving about it.
You're right. And I went in, I saw it a wee bit later than most, and I was a bit like, right. I was kind of worried because I was like, a lot of films get overhyped sometimes, and I was like, right, I'm just gonna sit down and experience it. And you're right, it's just everything everywhere all at once. And I just sat and I just watched, and I hadn't even seen any trailers for this film. I really don't know. I only saw the hype off Twitter, and then you guys obviously. And oh my God, it was something else. The rock scene, that's all I'm gonna say.
The rock scene's great.
I sat beside. It was an elderly gentleman, and he was in tears, absolute tears, and it was so funny. And you're right in saying the only thing I would say, it was a bit long. It felt like it just kind of pushed a wee bit.
I do think it was 10 minutes too long.
That was the only thing I would say for me, but everything else, and I also love the fact that they kind of use location wise, there's only a handful of locations.
Yeah, I mean, it was relatively small budget in the grand scheme.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying. It was relatively a small budget, and I fell in love with it. I would love to see it again. I only saw it once, and what was it? I was just kind of running in and out to see it, and I would love to sit.
Well, we've talked about it before. That it's A24's biggest hit ever.
We're right.
Globally as well, it's made like $87 million worldwide, which is great for a little studio like A24. And
we love A24.
I don't think it's gonna have the legs to do it. I mean, it's been out in America for ages now. But I really wanted that to get $1 billion, but it's obviously that was not realistic. But $100 million would have been great to see.
I'm happy that such as the Daniels, because obviously, for background knowledge, the Daniels were meant to be doing the Loki TV show.
Yeah.
And they pitched how mad they wanted to go. Yeah. And Disney were like, whoa, no. And I loved how they obviously went to the studios and just kind of went, we have this idea from what we want to do.
We'll just do our own thing with it. It's fine.
Let's do our own thing. And I'm glad that these creators can. That if the bigger studios say, nah, that's too much for us, we like to play it safe, that the smaller creators can go to these smaller studios
Yeah.
and still
And
produce their
that's a
vision.
to be fair, that was a massive risk for the Daniels to take, because doing a Marvel
Yeah.
project is going to have
it's
so many eyeballs
yeah,
on that, and
yeah.
doing this could have made no money at all. It could have lost them a lot of money, but it's been a massive hit for the Daniels, and I couldn't be
Especially when you're
happier.
dealing with a character like such as Loki.
Yeah,
I'm very.
I mean, that is
impressed.
Disney Plus's biggest hit, is it not? Maybe Obi-Wan now. I don't know.
No, I still think Loki is its
I
biggest
think
hit.
Loki was like their biggest, most
Uh-huh.
watched thing. Yeah.
But I honestly, bravo to those boys for going out
Yeah.
and doing it, because my
And
God,
did
they
something.
made a film and a half.
Yeah. And it's great to see, especially like in a world where we have like fucking Fantastic Beasts 3 and Jurassic World Dominion,
Yeah,
where you
just
think
incredible
creativity
sequels.
is bankrupt. They just come in and make something like that. It's fantastic to see. Love it.
Oh,
Right, Kyle,
Jurassic
what is
World.
your next pick?
My next pick, Rooster, is Top Gun Maverick.
Yay!
Gonna have to bring this one out.
Mm-hmm.
My God, what a film. We're just living in Tom Cruise's wee world, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Tom Cruise.
Did you see?
Tom
I
Cruise
just
runs it.
out of interest.
Uh-huh.
Did you see the thing about Miles Teller saying that he actually got like there was stuff like jet fuel in his blood or
Jet
something
fuel,
like,
yeah, I saw this,
like
yeah.
because of like an incident or something
Uh-huh.
or something.
But
and
he
had
got
to go
jet
to-
fuel. He literally had jet fuel in his blood.
He literally had jet fuel in his blood. He went up
Yeah.
to Tom Cruise. He's like, "Oh, I got jet fuel in my blood." He went without hesitation. He just turned and went, "I was born with it." And he was like, "I was like,
Only a guy like Tom Cruise could get away
Yeah.
with saying something like that.
For that, I can imagine Miles Teller going like, no, seriously, I'm unwell. I need to go." Like, something like that.
No, please,
Like-
Tom, take
like,
this seriously.
Tom, this
He's
isn't a
like-
joke.
Yeah, he just does a flip off a motorbike or something.
Yeah. So Top Gun Maverick, fall 36 years after the
Yeah.
release.
Oh,
of
I'll
Top
just
Gun.
add, Kyle. Remember how you asked, is this the longest gap between sequels?
Yeah.
It is technically, cinematically, it is the longest gap, but also
Alright.
Bambi and Bambi 2, that was 64 years, and that was a straight to DVD release though, so technically doesn't count.
64 years.
It was 64 years, yeah, between those sequels.
Bambi 2: The Revenge.
I couldn't tell you Bambi 2 was
How
best,
do
but
you know
Top-
that? Did you check?
No, I did check after when you asked, because I was like, I never even thought about that, and I looked up, and Top Gun Maverick is, if you want to look at cinematically, 36 years. That is the longest gap between sequels. Yeah.
Wow, that's something.
But anyway, carry on with what
So
you're
yeah,
saying.
sorry. Follows. I keep calling him Maverick because he's called Pete. Is it Pete
He's called
Mitchell?
Pete. Yeah.
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 So I don't like when they call him Pete. It's Maverick.
I know it's weird. That's weird.
And he is basically recruited back into the Top Gun to train for a secret mission to take a nuclear
A uranium facility.
uranium
Yeah.
facility. Yeah, thanks. I knew it was something dangerous. And
Yeah.
he's basically training the next generation of pilots, which are just one of the greatest kind of like ensemble casts ever. I think with the pilots, I
Of
love
all
them. Man.
time.
Mate, no, seriously. The more I think of
Yeah,
it, the more I
yeah,
love
they are
every
great.
single pilot individually.
Yeah.
Phoenix, Bob, love Bob. Think he's just amazing.
Yeah, Bob's
Hangman
great.
is just one of the greatest things ever. And then Miles Teller, Rooster.
Rooster himself.
I-
Yeah.
I've had so many of my friends,
Mhm.
mainly my female friends, gushing over Miles Teller like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like,
when
my
I
friend
took
says-
Madeline to see it, that was the most thing she was excited about seeing.
It was that beach.
Was
The
Miles,
beach
was
scene.
Miles,
yeah,
was
yeah.
Miles Teller. Yeah.
I've had friends convince other friends to go see it just because Miles Teller. The
Yeah.
beach scene. That's it.
The beach, just see beach scene. You get
Yeah,
everyone
like
in.
I
Yeah.
support it because I want this film to make $1 trillion. So I was
Yeah.
supposed
We'll
to
get into
go
that in
see
box
it.
office, to be fair.
But yeah, but obviously the main part of this is the way they filmed it by putting putting the actors in the back of jets, strapping cameras to them, and sending them off into air.
Yeah.
And just the actors had to sit and direct themselves,
Yeah.
cue themselves up in the air, doing these insane stunts.
Yeah.
And my God, was it worth it? Because it made an incredible experience. Just honestly, like I remember I was watching Tom Cruise is on some sort of red carpet or something, and I only watched this clip recently.
Yeah.
But he was talking about I want to make these films to give the audience an experience that they don't get.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's like, what experience are you going to get in front of a green screen? They're not going to get an experience. And I was like, God, you're a man,
Yeah.
son of a bitch, but you go for it. You
Yeah.
go for it. And yeah, just I can't get over how great this film is.
That's the thing. Like, even though, like, I've seen this film now 4 times in the cinema, and I think that's the most I've seen any film in the cinema. Because well, I'll talk about the action stuff first, but
yeah.
From an action perspective, I still think there's certain points in, like, the whole third act, the bit where Tom does a run, the canyon run. All that stuff is so well done on just a basic level, just like building up that tension.
Wait,
just
the
bringing in the score.
The training canyon run or the actual
the training one and the real one.
Oh yeah,
the finale as well. The 2 action sequences in the finale, technically. Just the way they are able to create tension so well, just through, like, Hans Zimmer, of course, doing a fantastic score, and just just simple editing stuff, just the most basic things still managed to create such an air of tension. And obviously you throw in this technological advancement of putting these, having these actors in the planes and having that cool cockpit and you're swaying from side to side, and you've actually the G-force stuff as well, like when you see and hear like the jets shaking under the absolute force of the G-force, and the actor's face is like, oh my god, I'm about to pass out. You feel it too. And that, what Tom said about you won't feel anything, or what was it, you don't get an experience with the green screens, that's so true, because there's barely any action films out there that have made me feel the way Top Gun has made me feel, just so tense, so like, oh my god, I feel the G-force, even though I'm obviously just sitting in a cinema seat. But I just, from an action level, I just can't get over how good it is, and that's obviously one of the main reasons I've seen it so many times. But also, just from a story perspective, it's so simple. It's just a man who's just haunted by his past and wants to be a father for Rooster, and just feels like a complete failure. And that's his whole kind of, his mission is to be the dad that, Rooster needs. And it's so simple, but it's so concentrated as well in that story that at points, like, I'm always just really kind of moved by, I won't spoil it, but a particular scene with Tom and someone else, and just like, I'm just always so hooked on it. And it's so cheesy and over the top, but you don't really get blockbusters like this anymore, or ever. Like, I think it's really something special, Top Gun Maverick.
It really is.
And I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm. It's a really just one in a blue moon sort of film. Which I don't know if we'll see again for a long time.
And there's some of my friends have seen it and it's like, oh, you overhyped that, man. And I'm just like, no, you don't get it, man. You just don't understand. Like, and maybe that's part of the reason, like, because you and I obviously understand and have seen a lot of stuff and a lot of interviews and the behind the scenes stuff, and the amount of effort, like, Gonzalo really, like, when he talked about it, he really hit home about this, is like just the pure amount of passion, effort that went into this project.
You have to have that passion to be able to put the blood
and just
sweat.
Knowing, and like, okay, maybe it's like, oh, maybe like you're looking at it like too much, or like you're looking at behind the scenes and stuff to give you more context or to like make the film hit harder. But I have seen the behind the scenes stuff, and I'm watching it, I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's still impeccable filmmaking from my opinion. And it's still just like, I see the work they put into that, and I'm just like, that's just fucking amazing. I love it.
It is just an outstanding film, top to bottom. But Top Gun Maverick, my second.
I kind of stole your thunder there.
I feel this is one that we both equally have.
Yeah, we both have high up on our list. Yeah.
So I was happy enough to share it. Anyway, go on.
But anyway, yes. Time to break up with the list for a little bit and go into news.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Our news anchor is like, oh shit, I need to get my papers in order.
Yeah. I was like, hello. What's going on here? Sorry, I thought we were going straight into free. Yeah. Okay. No. So, the news. So, the news. So, starting off, we're gonna get it out of the way. Slightly. Not the best news to be talking about, but Warner Brothers have announced that Ezra Miller will not play any part in the future of the DC projects after The Flash, regardless if there are more allegations or not. So this has been brewing for quite a while. Obviously, for a while, I honestly thought they were just going to hope that nothing else happened.
But it was getting insanely, like, terribly bad, like, really disturbing shit was coming about him. Yeah.
It was quite it's quite sad to say that I kind of was like, surely that's the worst that's going to happen. And then a few more days later,
Yeah, they
you
just
see their name popping up again. And honestly, I'm very interested to see at the time how DC market this film. If it's
But
the
that's
case
so
that they just forget
all
about
they've
it.
yeah, all they've said is he's not going to be in any future.
That's the thing. That's the main thing at the moment because
But
I honestly think they're hoping that it blows over by that point.
Right, okay, but what if you're in a position where, okay, worst comes to worst, what we've read about him is really bad. Like, it's creepy, it's disturbing,
it's
it
very
makes your skin
disturbing.
crawl, to be fairly honest, right? I don't understand, right, okay, what if, worst case scenario, he's convicted of the stuff he's done, that he's reportedly been doing.
They cannot do that. If we look at another example,
You can't air that, you can't show that film.
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
What was that film called?
All the Money in the World.
All the Money in the World.
They've just got Christopher Plummer in.
All his scenes with Christopher Plummer. I mean, they had to bring back Mark Wahlberg. They had to bring back
Michelle Williams
to refilm all those scenes. You know, I don't see that happening because Ezra Miller plays multiple versions of Barry Allen in this film.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's you're dealing with. Because you have this, you've got a big cast. You've got Michael Keaton and God knows who else is in this film.
I mean, you've
all
got Ben
stuff.
Affleck, you've got Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
You've got it's a real shame.
Yeah.
I really feel sorry for this cast because obviously this is a big moment for the actress who's playing Supergirl. That's a huge role to take on. First time we've seen her really.
Well, here's an idea, right? I wish Gonzalo was here honestly because I'm going to ask a visual effects question. It's the idea of like, okay, all the standard scenes where there's not really any visual effects, or all just on sets or whatever, or a green screen. You could and they're just talking. You could replace that with another actor.
Yeah.
And say obviously the when he's running super fast, like that will be a CGI body anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is meant to come out in another year's time, so if
I feel very lucky because remember this was originally like October or something.
Yeah, no, this year, yeah.
So
I feel like they need to be quick on the trigger though. They need to either replace him now or just I don't know what you can do with that film.
What I can see happening, right, is if the allegations do get worse, right, and they just go, there's no way we can put this in cinema. You reshoot the ending so that. You say whatever he does in it alters his body. Some sci-fi rubbish.
Some weird stuff,
And you just chuck it on HBO Max. You just chuck it on.
That is the thing. Like they've spent so much money on this film.
Yeah, I know, but they're gonna have to sacrifice it. That's the shame. That's they trusted an actor.
If I was a studio exec, right, and it cost, I don't know, I have no idea how much it would cost to put in another actor and change the CGI, change the faces on what they've... Because all you just have to do, really, is change the face on, like, the action sequences.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Obviously, there's all the stuff when he's stopping and talking, and you'd have to change that stuff. But I don't know how much that would cost, but surely it would be more financially viable to do that, because it's the Flash movie.
I wonder if they'll do, like, a prediction of how much it was going to make, and then compare it to how much it's going to take to redo it. And if it doesn't make it, you know, I say that you switch out, give Blue Beetle a cinematic release and chuck this on HBO Max.
Yeah.
That's the. If I would have to make that decision, I would chuck this on HBO Max and recast and. I mean, their whole cinematic universe is a complete shambles anyway. But
Fantastic Beasts were lucky they got this out before any of this happened, and they just like wrote him off.
I mean, to be fairly honest, his character was already fairly written off in that film.
Yeah, he was barely
in it. Anyway, it was a bit sus. Moving on, next? Yes. So, great news for Lewis. Guy Ritchie is helming Disney's live-action Hercules film after hot off the heels of his. Live-action Aladdin. Now, I know, Lewis, I know.
okay, he knows.
I actually quite liked the Aladdin film. Did we see that? I felt we
saw it together. We saw it together.
I quite liked the Aladdin film. And more, you know, if I was to rank all the live-action Disney films in most recent years, Aladdin's probably up there as my most enjoyable.
It's not been really great, has it?
No, compared to other things. And you know what? I've actually recently watched the original Hercules film, and I do know what I think it must have been in the last year or so, and I don't want this to happen. I think that film's perfectly fine as it is. Probably like the original Aladdin.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot more
But
niche
right,
films you could
here's the
probably
thing.
do.
Do you remember, like, you and I saw it, and for me, it was always baffling that they got Guy Ritchie to do that film, because he's a guy who's, mostly known for these like gangster type films.
Well, he did The
or
Gentleman, didn't he?
He did The Gentleman. He did Snatch. He did like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. And he did that King Arthur film, which was just like, ugh. Anyway.
Ah, yes, Arthur.
And then they got him to do it like a family friendly like Disney live action. I was like, what the hell? And then it came out, and I was like, the biggest problem for me with that film was, okay, well, you're obviously just doing the plot of Aladdin again, which is the main problem with all these live action things. But regardless, it's that they had a really good shot of making this a bit unique and a bit different, and that was making a musical. Because the musical numbers were the best part of the film. And I was like, why didn't they just go all out, make a bunch of original songs, and just make it a full-blown musical? Instead of just doing Aladdin again, just with bad CGI and like it kind of colorless. Anyway, it still made $1 billion, massive hit. Of course, you're gonna Guy Ritchie back to do another one. I mean,
forgot that made $1 billion.
So much money. Like, I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
It really kind of just threw me when I heard that, and I did enjoy it. I wasn't like, like I didn't hate it, but I wasn't
I don't really give a shit.
Whatever. Anyway,
what's next?
Moving on. So, the Sony's live action One Punch Man has found its director in Justin Lin. So obviously
just off the Fast and Furious 10.
Just off, yeah. Yes, Justin Lin, who had his unexpected departure from Fast X, which is a film on its own. I've been watching Vin Diesel's weekly Instagram videos of him finishing it, and
they get weirder and weirder, man.
I don't know what he's smoking on that set, but it's something. So he's set to direct this film. Now, it's a live action anime film. I'm not expecting much. The only thing I think is, Justin Lin's quite good for his action, and One Punch Man's really a lot of action in it.
Yeah. I've never seen an episode.
Oh, really? It's good fun.
No, I've not. I've heard really good things about it, though.
Yeah, it's simple concept. I love that. One Punch Man's a great character because you have this guy who can defeat everybody in one punch, and he gets really upset about it.
Yeah.
Like, he just wants to find somebody that's a challenge for him. Like, he's actually this really somber superhero that just goes, oh, not again. Like, come on. I just want somebody to be a challenge. But obviously it leads into some really awesome fight scenes. So that I'm a bit like interested on. But we'll see how far that goes ahead, because I've never really, if I see the words live action anime film, I'm a bit like, let's sit back here.
For example, they've been trying to get the Akira thing going for years now. The Akira live action remake, but that is just don't just
because Akira's amazing.
Akira is fantastic.
Yeah, so you've got that, and then really it's just kind of onto the box office.
Oh yeah, I've got the numbers here.
Yeah, do you want to give us the numbers?
Yeah, so really strange weekend actually. We talked about this because we had Lightyear opening, and a Pixar film didn't come in at number 1 this weekend.
And we'll discuss that later on. Yes, we'll go into that.
We will. So in number 1 at the box office this weekend was Jurassic World Dominion, making $58.7 million at the North American box office this weekend.
Oh boy.
I know. A quick spoiler for your review, Kyle. Which was better, Jurassic World Dominion or Lightyear?
Oh, Lightyear.
Okay, well, there you go. So worldwide total is now at $622 million. It's on pace to crack $1 billion. Easy.
Shit was better than
but also, simultaneously, it's released in a lot more markets than something like, Lightyear, Top Gun, or Doctor Strange, to be fair.
Lightyear's been taken out of quite a few markets.
Yeah, it has. But yeah, Lightyear opened to 51 at domestic box office, and its worldwide total is at 85 million. We saw this on Twitter, actually, that this is actually the second best opening for an animated film since Frozen 2.
What was
which
the
isn't
first
saying a lot.
best?
What? Frozen 2? What are you talking about?
Oh, I thought you said since.
Yeah, Frozen
Like,
2 was the biggest.
right. Sorry. Yeah,
There hasn't been many animated films. Well, I can think. Well, there's the Bad Guys. Bad Guys is making a lot of money.
That's true. I kind of want to see that film just because of how well it was in the box office.
Actually, spoilers, guys. This is the first week where it's actually out of the top 5 now. Sorry.
Oh,
I know it's finally out there. Anyway, Top Gun Maverick still doing amazing numbers on its fourth week, $44 million in domestic
I
box
saw
office.
something like it's broken the record for the highest amount of films kept, or like the lowest drop a film's had
The lowest
over
drop
the 4 weeks.
It did it on its second week and then it's done it on its fourth week. Where
Like, that's
the
a really
lowest drops.
interesting statistic, actually.
Its worldwide total is now 885 million. It's going to be $1 billion. It's going to be Tom Cruise's first $1 billion hit.
It's already going to be $1 billion.
Oh yeah, it'll make $1 billion.
Wait, is none of them Mission Impossible?
None of his Tom Cruise. This is his highest grossing film to date.
Really?
His
Wow,
highest
I didn't
grossing
know
his
that.
highest grossing film was Fallout, Mission Impossible Fallout, which was like around 800 million. So this is now his highest grossing film.
Do you think Maverick will get $1 billion?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it in the next 10 days, I reckon. Absolutely.
Yes.
Mainly because the Americans are loving this. This is going to crack 500 million domestic. It's going to be a huge hit in North America. Could be the biggest hit in North America by the end of the year. Well, I say that, but there's also Avatar 2 to come out, so who knows. Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse Madness made another 4.2 million. It's
Really?
worldwide total.
It comes out of Disney Plus on Wednesday.
Yeah, no, I guess this will kind of be the last thing.
Wow,
Before it
yeah.
dies. 942 worldwide. Massive hit for Marvel, but there's nothing really more to say about that.
Do you think it's going to crack $1 billion before it leaves?
Nah, it's died out. It's going to teeter out now. Put it out now, probably around that number. And the Bob's Burgers movie makes another 1.1 million domestic and a worldwide total of $31 million, which I thought was quite decent for that film. But then I found out. No, I haven't seen it. I actually was trying to get a showtime for it. It's barely showing near me.
It was bizarre.
It
was one of the free films shown at the St Andrews New Picture House.
Was it? But yeah, the weird fact about Bob's Burgers movie is that it cost $60 million to make.
60 million.
Yeah, I was like, what?
That's insane.
I was just saying, I was like, who thought that was a good idea? The Bob's Burgers has like a decent fan base, but it's not a big fan base.
Not a 60 million movie.
Why would you think that is a $60 million film? Keep in mind, this is a PG film. It's not like the cartoons, which are a bit more adult. But like, even still, like, I don't know. It's not like The Simpsons or something where you can make a movie that's going to be a big hit. Like that's shocking
an Archer
to me.
film. That's all I ask for.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they will. But yeah, that'll round off the
I just actually wanted
weekly
to
box
add
office.
one last bit because I just remembered it as it plopped in. Taika Waititi, when he was on the press tour for Love and Thunder, talked a wee bit about his Star Wars film.
Oh yes,
which is lined up to be the next Star Wars film releasing.
Yeah.
Because I think Patty Jenkins, after saying she was going to make the greatest fighter pilot movie ever for Rogue One, Rogue Squadron has probably taken a wee backseat and gone,
I'm going to have to take these X-Wings to space to beat Top Gun.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. He was talking about how he wanted his film to be as far away from the Skywalkers as possible.
Yeah, he wants to expand and stuff and experiment.
Such a breath of fresh air to hear.
I have a feeling, well, obviously, who knows, Taika Waititi's films come out and be like prequel level bad, but I don't know, I've got a feeling it's going to get a lot of buzz and a lot of people are going to be really excited for it, and I think it's going to be the Star Wars film that a lot of people have been waiting for, in the sense that it's going to really expand and be creative.
I have faith in that. But yes, anyway, that was my last week I just wanted to add in. Back to the films.
Yes, so me and Kyle will just give our last 2 picks for our favourites of the year so
2?
far.
I thought we were doing 3 each.
Oh, no, yeah, I mean, like, you and me together, Kyle.
Oh,
Maths.
wait.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like, I'm going to think of another film here.
I'm going The Worst Person in the World. Technically a 2021 film, but it didn't come out till most markets.
Mine is also a 2021
technically
film,
2021, but it also didn't come out till most markets till like March here in Scotland. So it's a 2022 film for me. It was up for Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars last year, well, technically this year, and Best Screenplay. And like I said, way back when we did our Oscars show, actually no, that's a lie, it wasn't out then. Way back when I reviewed this film, I said this should have been a film that won that Best Screenplay, Original Screenplay Oscar, because I thought the screenplay is absolutely this film's strongest suit. It's a film that So it follows Julie basically kind of going through a quarter life crisis. She's struggling to, stay to any one thing. She wanted to be a doctor, then a psychologist, then a photographer, and basically she can't seem to find the right thing. And basically once she is faced with a problem, she runs away. That's her thing. And then the whole film kind of is split into 12 chapters and a prologue and an epilogue, and it delves into different aspects of her relationships, her failures, her even like drug trippy sequences, and all sorts of even delves into a whole chapter about like the point of cancel culture these days. Really strange. It goes into all these different aspects about life and family and death, and mainly is a film about relationships at the end of the day, though, and kind of how you perceive yourself in a relationship, and basically how I guess what's the word I'm looking for, how to sort of be yourself in a relationship, I guess, and how to deal with your own shortcomings as a person, and do you then take those shortcomings out on the person you're with? And that's, to be honest, a big part of Julie's character is like, is she just her own insecurities and fears? Is she taking them out on the people she's with? And that's a massive part of that story. And it's so hard to pinpoint why I like it so much. I literally just rewatched it last week, actually, because it's now available on Mubi.
Yeah, I saw that, actually. I really got to watch.
And it's such a peculiar film, right? I know all the stuff it's trying to say. It's so hard because it all comes down to Julie as a character, right? Because she is someone who can easily be unlikable by the actions she takes and the choices she makes and sort of selfishness in her being. But simultaneously, you also understand why she's making these choices and why she's feeling the way she's feeling. And it's really subtle as well into why her character is that way. Like, they don't really lean too heavy on certain things. They show you stuff and you're like, okay, I'm picking up on that, and then this and that. Like a relationship with her dad, for example. And it's like, why is she the way that she is? And it is just a really, like I was talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's a film that is kind of all-rounded in the way it's made. It's really, really tragic, but it's also very funny. It's like kind of, it's innocent at points, whereas also it can kind of feel a bit like a bit debaucherous and a bit slimy with some of the actions Julie takes and things like that, and as well as like Elvind and her boyfriend Axel. But when I saw it for the first time, I was really moved by it, and I do still think it's a film that is just encapsulates so much about life and relationships and really just basically insecurities. And that's why I just really love The Worst Person in the World. That's it. Kind of me wrapping up about it, but I absolutely love that film. There's so many different things to talk about it with. It's definitely one of these things where, like, because it tells you it's 12 chapters long and it kind of goes through each chapter, you're like, whew. Once chapter's done, you're like, whew, right on to the next one. You can kind of feel the weight of it at times, but it's also really creative and stuff like that. You think it's going to be a simple little drama about relationships and things, but it has a lot of creative influxes and things like that are really like fun to see. Even a lot of animation, sequence where time stops. The score's really beautiful. And like I said when I reviewed it, because we did our Pixar episode around that time, it is like an adult Pixar film in the way that it's made and stuff like that. I think
interesting concept.
Yeah, I really love The Worst Person in the World. It's a Norwegian film. It was really good.
Excellent.
It was one of my favorite top 3 of the year.
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to my last one, and I just want
technically this is you and I both number one.
Yes. I think. And but I just want to start off with by giving you a review I found.
Okay.
Because what I like to do, Lewis, for films that I think are exceptional, I will go to IMDb
and find the worst one,
and I will look at the number 1 stars.
Yeah.
And this is called Worst or the Worst. This movie is zero fun. I don't know the purpose of this type of movie. I was waiting for something to happen, but nothing. It may be real as it can get, but that's just boring. As far as I remember, this is the worst movie I've watched till the day. not even till this day.
Till-
So this
till the day.
the person doesn't even know grammar. But Lewis,
Uh-huh.
my number one film and yours,
Uh-huh.
I'm guessing as well, is
Yeah.
Mass.
Mass.
Now, Mass, probably more now than when I originally watched it. Probably
Yeah.
a lot more.
Yeah.
Now
Its
I
relevance
think
is
about it,
is really
it
scary,
has,
actually.
yeah,
Mhm.
has is really kind of impacted me more.
Uh-huh.
But Mass is a very simple story about
Mhm.
two parents sitting in a kind of church community room,
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
it.
how a mass shooting has affected their lives.
Yeah.
And that is the story. That is it. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's it.
you have maybe 10 minutes at the beginning of them setting up the table, and
Yeah.
then a wee 10 minutes at the end of them
Mm.
leaving the place. But
Yeah.
I mean, for what, a 2 hour film, hour and a half is just them sitting in this table chatting, and it is just one of the most profound movies I think I've ever seen. I've never been in a cinema where everybody has cried at separate occasions. You know, and the idea that I've always said this for a while, that I say a great performance and a great film is something that can just be, or a great screenplay, it could be just people sitting down and chatting for
Yeah.
2 hours.
That's
If
the whole
you
film.
can get that and do it well, then you're a fantastic storyteller, hands
Yeah.
down. And it is obviously a very, very hard hitting topic, and it just does everything. I'm trying to be very careful because
Uh-huh.
I don't want to spoil.
Yeah,
The
yeah, that's true.
the
Going in,
story.
you went in really blind. I kind of knew what was
I
going
went
on
in
at the
very
start,
blind.
but you
I
went in
don't
blind. You're
I
like, oh
don't know
wow.
if the description actually tells people. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if it does,
Yeah.
because it might not be a spoiler in that case. And actually, I went in completely blind because
Yeah.
I just assumed it was people who've had separate experiences. Like, I kind of in my head thought one of them lost somebody years ago, and one of them
Yeah.
was more recent.
Uh-huh.
But to today's company, they were linked to the same
Yeah.
incident.
Yeah.
Was profound, and
Yeah.
and obviously this
But-
is set a few. I think it's like a year or something after the event.
Yeah, it's not long after
It's
the
not,
event, to be
it's
fair.
not long after the event, but it's not like immediate. And
Well,
can you check the description? Because I really.
it says
the hardest
literally the description of the film is aftermath of a violent tragedy that affects the lives of two couples in different ways. That's as
Right.
briefly the description is.
Okay.
But I want to get into the performances of this film.
Oh,
You have
my
Jason
God, yeah.
Jason Isaacs, especially actually for me, but also Ann Dowd, Reed Birney, and Martha Plimpton. That ensemble
Yeah.
was undoubtedly the best performances I'd seen last year. Well, technically this year, but like, see, if it should have been up for acting contention at the Oscars and all sorts, because
It should've
those
just-
were the best performances like
For
I've seen in a
me,
long time.
I agree that Jason Isaacs is incredible. Ann
Oh.
Dowd, I think she stole it for me.
she was fantastic. She was
because,
fantastic.
but once again, because of her predicament, or
Yeah.
which I'll once again try and not say,
Mhm.
but the way that the actors tell the story, because nothing's shown.
No.
You don't get any violent flashbacks. You don't
no.
get anything. You get told the events quite graphically just by these
Yeah.
guys talking about it.
Yeah.
Which, you can really paint a picture for what is said by what they say in this film. And it's one of these films that I think I will watch again because I want to show my parents. Because I feel this is a film people need to see.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely, it's a
just
film that
the
people need to see.
Beautiful performances of
Uh-huh.
all the cast, and more so the cultural impact that it really is now. More.
It's one of these things that is like, every time there is going to be, well, in the States really, every time there's going to be a sort of, a tragedy or a mass shooting like this again, like what this film was about and what this film is trying to say only grows stronger, and that's the thing. There is a point in the film where they sort of try and delve into, one character is like simply cut and dry about certain things. This should be the way it is. Another character as well. No, life isn't that easy. Everything has nuances and complexities and things. You can't just change things
Yeah.
willy-nilly, and I really loved that idea that they bring in it, because it's not just a film that preaches. Obviously, it's like, it preaches about, this is a film that preaches about, they should take away our Second Amendment rights or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's
well,
not.
Yes, it does have that idea in it, obviously, because of the horrible tragedies that happened.
Yeah,
but it's more about, it delves
at...
into the complexities of that, trying to get that to happen. It's like, look, trying to work your way politically around that is a nightmare scenario. It's like, you can't just take guns away overnight, and that whole idea they delve into about, and it's not just about gun violence, it's about everything in life as well. It's about anything.
It really goes into the complexity of the children that were involved in the incidents, and the children that were victims of the incidents. It's just very earlier on, there's a thing where the mums were asked to bring photos of their children together. And there's one line in it, which I don't know if I can say because I think it gives away everything. But I think you know which one I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Where if you were to watch it, there's a line in it that just really broke me to my core, and it's just it's one of those things that if I can understand a lot of people will not enjoy this film because...
Well, that's the thing, right? I don't think... It's weird enough to say, right? We talk about the subject matter of this film, and that would turn a lot of people off immediately. Like, why would I sit and watch that?
I think but do you know what I would turn a lot of people off? I think it's the idea of it's just people sitting down and chatting. That's what I think would turn people off, because I think some people use cinemas to go to see heavy action or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think people utilize the cinema for every sort of way. Like, they don't utilize it to say a story.
Yeah, but I will say something like this that is situated in one room, like you said. You said, it's very hard to make that. That is the hardest task to make that entertaining, because you're literally relying on really. Although I think that it's very well directed as well. I don't think this is something that could be done in a stage play, because there are certain points the camera gets really tight in their faces, and I think some of the editing is really well done. The rapid cutting between faces and things like that. But anyway, it mainly is the penmanship, and it mainly is the performances. And if you make that entertaining, weirdly enough, you feel like you're going on a healing journey with these characters.
You really do.
It feels like a journey. Like, you feel the weight of it. You feel anxious at the start,
honestly, you're
just
right,
like them.
You go into the beginning and
you're like, this feels uncomfortable. This is uncomfortable.
With me, so for me, I was like, okay, this is the thing, and then information. You go, whoa, Like I remember looking at you going, what the hell? And then by the end of it, I was coming out going like, that is something. Like you say, you feel that you heal with the characters. As they heal, or sometimes don't heal, because not everybody healed, because they said that as when they went in, they're like, this isn't going to cure everything.
No,
this isn't going to be a cure. And there's like a counselor woman who was there, who was like very from the get go, like, this isn't the cure. This is just something to do.
Something to do.
And then some people come out feeling better. Some people out coming just feeling the same.
Yeah. And that's I love that idea of the film, is that it is a film that doesn't have, here's a definitive answer to all of these problems. Here's a definitive answer to this and that.
That's the beauty of it, because it's left to everybody's kind of thoughts and opinions. Like you said, when it talks about certain issues, like, it gives you both the opinions, but it doesn't give you both the opinions in their face. It's like, that's great, but what about this? That's an issue. I get that.
I mean, it's obviously a film that is absolutely not condoned. It's not saying, guns are great at all. No, not at all. It's clearly, it's obviously a film that's opposing that, but still, it still gives you nuances to that argument.
But my God, I've not had a film that's chilled me to my bone in a...
And the weird thing is, the film... There is a weird thing. The film's sort of bookended. The beginning and end is bookended, because obviously they go in and out of the room, and it's so weird how trivial the conversations are when they get outside the room. It's so weird.
I was thinking about that at the end of the film. That there's that wee bit where they all left the room, and there's like an awkward getting ready to leave, and they're just like, are you staying nearby? And you're right. It's very much like, as soon as they left like it's almost like the director had it so that this room was the environment where that conversation would take
They're
place.
entering a different realm basically where they can.
So whenever they're outside of this room,
yeah, their true selves are really existing in that room.
And then they come back out and they've almost got that mask back on. You know,
the mask
had
is on.
When the parents arrived at the beginning, they're saying in the car, going, "We don't need to do this. We can just go back to the hotel." You know, they're trivial stuff, and then they get in. They put their hearts on the table.
Yeah.
And and then there's the trivial stuff where there's like just the casual, like, oh, can we drink this coffee? You know, like It's not, it could be really easy to say that somebody's just wrote a big speech about violence and gun violence and why it shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. But then the challenge was making these people human.
Yeah.
And they did it because
they're definitively characters.
They broke it up. They broke it up from these monologues about their feelings, as from the part like, am I allowed to have this coffee? Like, does anyone else want to go? Adding the tiny little human elements in to really make it feel like I was just watching four people have a heart wrenching conversation. And honestly, I could talk about MASH forever. And it's you know what, if somebody told me 5 years ago that one of my favorite films would be a film about four people sitting in a room chatting about how a shooting affected their life and that was it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't believe you, but after MASH, man, I just love this film so much.
I mean, it's gonna be the MASH is gonna be hard to beat this year. MASH and Top Gun. We're halfway through the year.
I don't think anything will beat MASH this year. I don't think anything will beat MASH for a long time for me to be
the bar is set extremely high for us this year. For the remainder of the year. We're going to be what if we end up doing our top 10 at the end of the year and we're just like, oh guys, just watch the mid-year one. It's the same films.
Yeah, that's the issue. But like, I think you're right in saying that MASH and Top Gun are two very different films.
Oh yeah.
Because obviously one's an action story. One's telling like a story for action. One telling a story for heartbreak and
for heart and emotion. Yeah, and I think that's a great like juxtaposition. A great way to show like the different varieties of cinema and
exactly
how they can both be effective in different ways.
Exactly, and like I said, I don't think anything will come close to beating either of those films for a long time for me.
That'd be hard.
But yeah, that is definitely my top pick.
Yeah.
And I think I would say it's probably yours as well.
Mine as well. A shared top pick, which is quite rare for us, Kyle. But
yes.
But yeah, so just to round off our list, our 6 picks for today were The Batman, The Northman, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Worst Person in the World, Top Gun Maverick, and MASH.
And obviously we had all our wee honourable mentions at the start.
And all our mentions, which you can go back and listen to if you missed any. Yeah. But now it's time for reviews. And so Kyle, you have seen Lightyear. I have not. So please
seen Lightyear. Right.
Tell us about Lightyear.
Well, I'm just gonna get my wee IMDb page up just so I can get everything right.
Of course.
Because I don't know.
In case you get any names wrong.
Yeah. Buzz Lightyear. Okay. So Lightyear. Oh, Lewis.
So you were really excited for this.
Well,
you were really excited for this.
I was.
I didn't know if you were taking the piss, but
to be honest, I didn't know if I was either. But like, so basically, I just remember it was 2020. They call it the Disney Plus Day, whenever it was in like November or September.
Yeah.
And we got an announcement of this Lightyear film, and everybody's like, "Oh, okay,
what?
Nice."
Yeah.
Buzz Lightyear spin-off, and then we had that tweet from Chris Evans that just went, by the way, I'm not voicing the toy, I'm voicing the person that the toy is based off of.
Because everyone's just, what the hell is going on?
I was so confused. I was like, are you saying that in Andy's universe there are genuinely space rangers going out and about? And it was like, no, this is the film that in 1995 Andy sat down and watched in the cinema, and it became one of his favourite films. Does Andy have good taste? I don't think so, but that's not the point. Andy's an animated child. So Lightyear follows obviously the titular Buzz Lightyear as the Space Rangers as they go on a mission to find inhabitable worlds. And basically what happens is they land on this planet, it's uninhabitable, they have to get out, and Buzz being like, I'm going to do everything by myself, crashes the plane, or crashes the big spaceship basically. And then they have to kind of create civilization there. And then the whole idea of the story is that they go a year later, he has the ability to test out the hyperfuel to see if it's stable, because they have to remake it. And he goes out, he tests it. Obviously, time dilation, the closer you get to the faster life and speed.
Interstellar, yep.
Yep, he comes back. So, this isn't spoilery. From the trailers, it makes it look like it's one jump.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like 20. Like, it's like,
Okay.
he actually does it every 4 years. Like, he went away and he came back and said, oh, yeah, it's been 4 years. And he goes,
right,
oh, okay. And they keep like, working the hyperfuel. So, like, he's seen his friends jump 4 years every, like, 10 minutes for him. Every day is, like, 4 years.
Oh, wow, okay.
Because it's made it that he just does one jump that's 64 years. But it's actually multiple that are in total.
Okay.
So
that's a bit mismarketing. Right?
Yeah, it's mismarketing. I think it's because, like, I felt like it could have been more impactful to look in the trailer. Because obviously you see Buzz, like, losing his friends through time because he's trying to fix his mistake through doing this hyperspace jumping and doing it. And basically, his final one, his 15th mission, I think it is, because it's the X-15 jet that he uses. He comes back, and he's created to a bunch of robots. And he has to basically help this group that is led by his friend's granddaughter.
Yeah.
And they have to kind of beat the robots, free the people, and use the what was it? Refined hyperfuel that he's aced.
Right, okay.
So he aced it in his last fight, and he has to get it to get everybody home.
Okay.
And that's the concept of Lightyear. And how is it done? Now, that's the interesting part with Lightyear, right? It watching this film, it just didn't feel like a proper Pixar film to me. Okay?
Right.
Now, it had
What would you kind of I guess I don't really want you to. Okay, what other Pixar film does it? In what way does it not feel like a Pixar film? Sorry, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
It feels more of just a generic animated film. Like, this film is very predictable.
Okay.
Like, you know what? You feel that you know what's going to happen. Because I saw my girlfriend and she's just saying... She said it was a fun film. It's a fun sci-fi action film. But it's very predictable. Yeah. And, you know, for as much as it has the little heart moments, like him watching his friends basically age on and pass. You know, it didn't feel as hard-hitting as much as many Pixar films. Definitely the 4 movies that it set off of. You know, like, nowhere near the levels of Toy Story 3 or anything. And and its humor is a bit more. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the trailers or anything, but the robot cat.
Everyone's going on it. Everyone seems to like the cat.
Oh my god, the robot cat's the best part. Honestly, I genuinely love that robot cat. And
who voices the cat? Do you know?
I will check it off. It's called Socks. Peter Sohn.
Oh, right, Peter Sohn.
He's in more or less every Pixar film. He's in a lot of Pixar films. Sorry. Recycling.
So I guess what I'm saying. Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but you're saying it doesn't have like the sort of weight or the emotional impact that something like Turning Red or Luca or Soul recently or Toy Story films or whatever had.
It feels more like a classic action adventure film.
So something more akin to like, I don't know, something like the DreamWorks make or like Universal make with like Despicable Me and things.
It feels more like that, and I like the animation. I'm liking that every Pixar film right now isn't looking the same.
They're all different, which is good to see.
They're all looking different, which I'm liking. I like the character of Buzz is fun because he has to, but it's a very classic cocky space ranger has to learn to work together to kind of move on, and there's but also there's parts where there's like the like IJ and I were talking about the big twist, which I won't go into for me, and I feel I don't know if this is the same for other people. I felt the big twist kind of ruined some of the magic of the film.
Right. Okay.
And it kind of I can't really say much else on that front. Hopefully in the future, once you've seen it or something, we can give a wee.
I will go see it.
A spoiler review of it. I don't know how you might feel about it. You might feel differently.
Okay.
I just kind of felt
Mm-hmm.
something a bit off.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if they were trying to make it more snazzy. Like like it felt like the film could have been a lot more simpler, and they went off and tried to kind of overcomplicate it by doing some stuff.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Interesting.
it's interesting. I'm trying to leave it on that. But yeah,
What score are you thinking for this one?
it's. I probably have to go with the Metacritic, and I'm gonna give it like a solid 6.
6. Wow.
Um,
Right in line with that score, eh?
very light. The thing
Yeah.
is that I've also
Mhm.
like as much as I was excited for it, and I was like that. I also think it was a very unnecessary film.
Uh-huh.
It really and I can't agree more with your comment earlier that people were saying that, such as Luca and Turning Red, that they should have had a
They
cinematic
deserve the
release.
cinematic releases,
And
yeah.
this just felt like a Disney Plus film.
Yeah.
It's a spin-off of
Uh-huh.
a Toy Story. It's you know
Yeah.
it's a film. It's the most complicated. How
Uh-huh.
to explain? They literally have a thing at the start that says, and Andy has this toy Buzz Lightyear. This is the
Uh-huh.
film he saw in 1985 that made him fall in love with the toy Buzz Lightyear
The toy.
from the
Mhm.
from the film Toy Story. It's like how hard is it? Like I tried to explain it to my dad, and I think he couldn't understand it. He's like, so
No,
is it?
I don't know. For me, the concept is quite easy to grasp because you're basically watching a movie within a movie universe.
Yeah, a movie within
Yeah.
that universe. That's
Yeah.
the idea. But it's still like
Mhm.
a why.
Yeah.
Why
was
are
this
we
made?
doing this?
And I
This
really
feel-
want to understand
This feels like
where.
they have.
Sorry.
It just felt they had a board of ideas,
Yeah.
and this was in
I
the
wanna-
bottom corner.
I want to understand what Disney and well, I think mainly Disney's in control of the cinematic releases and things like that. But where are their heads at with not putting with? Obviously, I understand why they put a property like this in cinemas.
Mhm.
You know, you have the Toy Story name attached to it,
Yeah.
right? But things like Turning Red and Luca, Soul obviously was under different circumstances where that couldn't be
It
released
was
in cinemas,
very
but
early in the pandemic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But Luca and Turning Red, I'm just like, those are the films that are getting all the buzz. Those are the films that people liked and talked about. And I'm sure they would have been. It's a family film. Like Lightyear, we said didn't open to #1, which is surprising for Pixar. But it's
Very
still a family
surprising.
film, and they will have legs.
It's surprising. It's surprising because once again, it's a family film. It's also
Yeah.
Lightyear.
Yeah.
It's a Buzz Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear's
Yeah.
a very
But that's the
popular
thing
character.
that's a lot of thing with animated films is that they have legs and they go on for a long time. The Bad Guys that
Yeah.
we talked about, it's been in the charts for ages.
Oh yeah,
made
and
a,
I'm
made
very
a,
impressed
a
to
fair
see
profit.
how Minions 2 does.
That's the thing.
because I
His
think that's
Minions
going to do quite
gonna
well.
come out.
But so like
Yeah.
all in all, the thing is, I'm a sucker for Disney. Sorry, Pixar.
Yeah.
Absolute sucker for Pixar. And the last 3 films, Turning Red,
Soul, Luca.
Luca, insane films in my mind. All of them, I loved them. I
Yeah.
think it was like a absolute trilogy of Pixar. Onward before it was okay. It's probably
Yeah.
the same par as Lightyear in my
Lightyear,
mind.
uh-huh.
But all I'm saying is I'm very disappointed that they missed the mark
Yeah.
with an end credit scene being Andy watching the film. I
Yeah,
think
that-
they just
that sounds like
missed
it could've been
a
funny.
huge mark there. I was
Yeah.
like, that would have been a genius idea to just have it like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
like I'm not saying don't see this film. It's a fun, silly sci-fi adventure film with a more realistic Buzz Lightyear.
Especially
It's-
if you have little kids.
If you have little kids, I saw it, and we went to a pretty early screening, so there was actually a lot of kids sitting around. They absolutely loved it. Like they
Oh,
were
that's good.
absolutely running amok, and I was sitting there being critical, like, I don't know about this, and then
Yeah.
But anyway, like your 6
Right.
out of
6
10.
out of 10. from Kyle.
Go give it a watch. Tell me what you think.
Well, I'm going the complete opposite direction from Kyle, and I'm reviewing Pleasure this week, which is is the opposite of a family-friendly film. This is a film that stars Sophia Capel as Bella, and Bella Cherry is her name, is basically trying to break out into the porn industry. She wants to be the next biggest star, and she's moved to LA all the way from Sweden, and her goal is to simply become the biggest porn star on the planet. So yeah, that's pretty much the setup for Pleasure. Like I said, it's a film that delves deep into the porn industry. This is a film that looks at the porn industry in a very, very honest light. You
Yeah.
are delving into the, the finance of it, the all different genres of it, the misogyny of it, and the racism of it. Like, it's a really heavy film as well, even as well as like the political sort of aspects of it. Who you need to impress, who you need to befriend, who you should avoid, and things you should do to sort of raise your stardom. And the thing is, Pleasure's quite interesting, right? Because on one front, if you've seen the trailer, and like I said, I'm telling you, it delves very deep into the porn industry, you know you're going to get a lot of sex scenes and a lot of scenes that just feels like you're watching a porn film.
Right.
And the interesting is, right, because that's very obvious stuff. You know you're going to get that in a film like this. But I think for me, personally, I think that's kind of a problem with it. I think there's specific scenes of her filming certain porn films and that are essential to the plot and essential to her as a character, and some that are quite interesting. Whereas others, I feel like it's just sort of padding out time. I feel like I'm just watching a porn film. Why am I watching a porn film in this plot narrative? Like, I feel like things certainly should have kind of been hurried along. And I know that's weird to complain about in a film that's obviously about the porn industry, but I just, at certain points, you feel kind of tired out by it. I will say Sophia Capel's great in the lead. I think her performance is both vulnerable and confident. I like the way she kind of enters the room. She wants to be the best and she wants to be the next big porn star, but simultaneously she kind of shrivels away from that when the camera's put on her and things like that. There's also kind of a whole plot line kind of about like her not trying to make friends, a little friendship that blossoms between her and what was the character's name? Oh, I can't remember her name. I think she's played by Zelda Morrison.
Okay.
She's trying to befriend another like rising star who they live in a model house where a bunch of porn stars
right,
live.
yeah.
So she's trying to. There's a little blossoming friendship there. But the problem was the friendship stuff was sweet, but I didn't feel like there was enough to really flesh it out. I feel like we just kind of jumped to them being friends. I would have liked a bit more to it. I would have liked, I don't know, I feel like that should have been a bigger heart of the film. And there's also certain character aspects that aren't really ever, that are left up to you. You're always asked, you never really get an answer of Bella. Why does she want to be the best porn star? Why does she want to be in this industry in the first place? You don't ever get an answer to that. You get one that's basically a lie. But that's the thing. That's the interesting thing. And I don't really feel like the film gives me another route of why she wants to be the best porn star. She just says it. She says she wants to get...
I just want to be the best, and that's it.
She wants to... And Kyle, perhaps it really is that simple. Maybe I'm looking too deep into it. Maybe I'm trying to find a character route or a backstory that makes her want to be the best, she just wants to be the best, and it's that simple.
Yeah.
I will say, if you're someone who detests the porn industry and is like, I hate it and all that stuff, or I'd never watched porn industry, I'd actually say Pleasure is probably the film you should be watching. I think it's I really think to open up your eyes to either make you be like, wow, there's actually a lot more to it than I realised, and also a lot more distressing stuff to it. So it might just actually further their opinions more, but also it could be like, oh, there's actually a lot more work that goes into this, a lot more technical stuff. The way they talk about it is really trivial. It's just do that, do this, do that, and it's actually quite funny to watch. I don't know, Pleasure is interesting. It's certainly a film I don't think I'd watch again, but it's also simultaneously one that I'm like, I think it's certainly, if you're interested in the makings of porn or how the industry works,
which you are,
definitely watch it. Or if you're completely against it, I'd also say watch it, because that you'd be the person that would probably get a lot out of it and seeing actually the nitty gritty of it. I'm going to give it a 6.
How would you rank it?
A 6.
Out of interest, you've seen a lot of films based on porn.
How would
you exactly? The numbers are going up. How would you rank it in your films based on porn list?
Well, they're two very. Feels very almost at points documentary like you
Right.
actually have real porn stars playing themselves in this
Oh,
film.
which you know,
Um,
yes, I understand. Yeah, okay,
Of
continue,
course.
yeah.
And it's quite interesting because they have these real porn stars playing themselves, and some of them in a really bad light, like a terrible light. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
really interesting. You
What is it meant to
you'd
be
allow
like? Is
that.
it meant to give like the idea of documentary? Like it's just kind of like
It's
on the
very,
run sort of
it's
thing?
very, very realist. It's like a
Right.
very realist film, and it's not really like you don't really get many glossy shots, or you get like much of a cinematic feel. Like it
So
looks
it's like
very
natural
real. It looks
lighting
very
sort
real.
of use. Like it's just
Very
using everything.
natural, very
Right,
natural
I get
looking.
you. I
It
get
looks
you.
like
Yep.
it looks like real life. Whereas Red Rocket, like I talked about earlier, is much more fictional and much more fantastical.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
film
yeah, fantasy-wise,
I
yeah.
would just prefer to watch simply. Whereas Pleasure is not something I think I could watch again. But I'm glad I saw, and I'm glad
So
I
you
saw.
didn't get
sort
pleasure
of-
from it then? Is that what you're saying?
Not a lot, Kyle.
No.
No, but I think it's decent, and I'm giving it a 6, and I do still think it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But also, the porn stuff can go quite tiresome.
Yeah.
I will say that. But anyway,
So,
that is my review of
yeah.
Pleasure, and thank you, Kyle, for your review of Lightyear. That'll about wrap up today's show. I will
Yeah.
for next
What's the
week's
idea
show.
for next week? Yeah.
We're doing the worst of the year so far, Kyle.
Oh.
We're doing the worst ones. Of course, we're gonna
And
completely
we'll
flip the mood.
hopefully
Uh-huh.
Have
Sorry?
reviews for. I think I intend to have reviews for Hustle and Spiderhead. I want to watch both of those.
Oh,
The,
okay.
What's his face? Adam Sandler's kind
Oh
of like
yes,
Hustle
of
NBA
course.
film. That kind
Yeah,
of intrigues me.
I'm
And
sure
obviously
I'll
Chris
show
Hemsworth
up. I'll
and-
show up with a review of something next week.
and Rooster. I want to
Yeah.
see Rooster
So
on
of course,
TV again.
next week we're completely flipping the script. We're going all negative. We're talking about the worst films so far we've seen this year, and like how we said, some of the films we don't think can be topped this year in terms of our best list. I don't think some of these can be topped in terms of the worst.
Worst film.
But
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what we'll end up seeing this year, Kyle. But yeah, thank you for joining me, Kyle.
Well, sorry, I just want to say we've got Halloween Ends.
Oh.
Just fair warning, we do have Halloween Ends still to go. I forgot.
Jesus
You forgot
Christ.
that one. Yes, thank you.
Jesus
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it,
Okay,
as
no bother.
always.
Guys, we gave our opinions of the best films so far this year, but at the end of the day, that's just our unwanted opinion. Thank you very much for joining me, and bye-bye.
Goodbye.